Welcome back to our do-it-yourself paint by numbers tutorial. We might have a long video, well, longer, ahead of us today. You can always just skip this if you already know how to do it. We're going to make paintable areas from our photo. This means we need to reduce the fine details and the total number of colors. And in my case, make it as tacky as I can. I learned to do all this in GIMP. And after a little frustration, I think the results are just as good as using the cutout filter in Photoshop. The tools we need are Posterize and Blur. These are two very basic filters found in both Photoshop and GIMP. Let's just look at what Posterize does. I'm going to choose it to use on the image just as it is. As you can see, it reduces the number of colors and you get to choose how many steps it uses. It's looking more painty, but still too many fine details in the shapes. We want to make solid areas that a 9-year-old or unskilled adult can fill in with a paintbrush. So how do we do that? We use some blur. But before that, we need to separate the image into a few rough layers according to their color in general. Now this may not seem necessary, but it really helps control everything, like your details, the colors, and it makes it easier to transfer to canvas later on. We've got a ton of red with these roses. That's going to get its own layer. I'm going to just duplicate the whole picture so I have a clean copy if I mess it up. This layer will be our reds. The I button will show you if you can see a layer or not. I'm going to turn them all off except for the reds, so we're not operating on any other layer. Now we do the magic wand tool to select the major areas that aren't red. I turned up the hotkeys, so you'll see me going to the menus a lot. If you're more advanced with GIMP, it might drive you a little crazy. Sorry. I'm using a combination of the magic wand and eraser to get this layer of red shades about where I want. Remember, we're painting this, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Now here's the Posterize filter on just the reds. This looks really cool, with just 3 shades. Still seeing the whiskers, which is okay, we'll just paint over it. Now here's 4 steps, and 5. I could still handle that as an unskilled painter, because this is going on 11 by 17, so these areas are still big. But let's run the blur filter on it and see how that turns out. Choose Gaussian blur, and just leave it on 5 pixels. That's how blurry it is. More pixels is way more blurry of an image. And we'll run the Posterize filter on it. Is that any different? I don't know. I don't know if it's really necessary to do it on the roses. I just kind of wanted to show you how to do it. On the cat head, it becomes way more important. Again, we start with a clean copy of the layer. This one is just going to be for the cat head. I tried to use the magic wand tool to do this the first time, and then I realized it made much more sense to cut the cat head out with the scissors select, just like we did for the reds. So when it's all cut out and selected, go to the Select menu and you'll see a choice to Invert. This chooses everything but your shape. Very useful. And you just delete it. The cat head looks really weird, like there are bites taken out of it, but those are the places it was covered up by the roses. So now let's do the paws. Again, new layer. I'm fancy, so I'm using various sizes of the eraser to get the job done. I'm showing the head as I erase. This may seem strange, but the first time I tried this, I ended up with floating paws. Seeing the head at the same time helps me not erase parts that I shouldn't erase. The last thing to do is merge these 2 layers together. We want to use the same colors for both the head and the paws, so it makes sense to just have them be on the same layer. To do this, it's really easy. Make sure the layers you want to combine are showing. Go to your image menu and choose Merge Layers. Photoshop has this too, though it might be in a different place. It's a really basic function. Yay, looks fine. Now you could stop here with the cat head layer, but what will really make your painting look good is extra detail in the face. So I'm going to pull out the eyes and nose of the cat and stick them on separate layers. I'm just duplicating the face layer a couple times and erasing, just like we've already done. It may seem tedious, but it goes quick. And we should cut out the eye holes from the main face. I haven't decided if I want a separate nose hole, so I'll leave it in for now. Back to our main head layer, without the eyes. We already know that Posterize by itself leaves too many fine details in. We want solid shapes, so let's try the blur tool. Since the cat's made up of fine lines, I'm going to choose an 8 pixel radius for the blur instead of leaving it at 5. Now let's run Posterize. Definitely seeing paintable areas, but the colors are all wrong. That's okay. It's easy to fix. We're going to desaturate the image, which means take all the colors out, so that it's 100% shades of gray. And Posterize. That looks good. Turning it to gray is actually a plus, because now we get to pick the colors we want to use. I'm choosing colors that match up with my beginner set of 48 acrylics. The Magic Wand tool is perfect here, because these areas are solid, only one color with no different shades. I'm going to select all the same gray values and turn them to this medium golden brown as my starting paint color. Now working from that same color, I'm going to choose shades of brown to match the other gray areas. If it's a lighter gray, I'm going lighter. If it's a darker gray, I'm going darker. And you can get creative. And I'll make it really dark around the eyes, because it's dramatic. We'll do the same with the eyes. Blur with the lower pixel value, because it's a smaller area, convert to grays, posterize, and colorize with the paint bucket and Magic Wand tools. I'm going crazy with the color because I can. And make the highlights of the eyes white, even if they got converted to gray. It just looks better. I did the nose the same way. I'll cut out the nose hole later, but you don't need to see that. I'm going to test out a bright background color. This helps me visualize what the final is going to look like. I want the final result to be eye-popping, really noticeable, as in can't miss it on the living room wall. Yeah, maybe put a little shadow around those roses to make them pop out. Oh yeah, it's a bad job on the computer, but this is just the guide. I like the blue. Once you've done this, you're ready to transfer to canvas and paint. Done with the computer stuff. How do you transfer this to the canvas? Well, don't worry. I have a really cool trick that makes this easy. When I did the Beer Santa, I used the old art school grid method, which worked, but it sucks. This is way better. Until next time.
Thank you.